Round 3 was not kind to Fredericksburg area football teams, but one local school has survived and advanced. Find out who and what lies ahead in this week's Varsity 360 Gridiron Report, and it starts right now. Hello there everyone, Mark Coleman here from V2SN. Welcome to the Varsity 360 Gridiron Report. Glad you found us here at Fredericksburg.com. Happy as always to be partnering with the good folks from the Freelance Star, including their high school sports coverage department. They call it FLS Varsity. I call them some of my good friends. We're joined this week by the Freelance Star Assistant Sports Editor, Mr. Justin Rice.
You need more friends.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. What a week of high school playoff football, especially for the area. So let me get this straight. A team scores 49 and loses. Another team scores 49 and loses. A third team scores 31 and loses. The winning team scored 27 points this week.
And played defense.
Played some defense. Yeah, there is that too. You got to score more than the opposition.
Absolutely, and I think the team that played the best defense won this week, as it turns out. Yeah.
But some good football, some exciting football at least.
Certainly
played across the board. I was following on Twitter, and it was hard to believe all the updates that I was seeing. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny to think that it's exciting watching a football game or following a football game on Twitter, but follow. If you're not already, give FLS Varsity a follow. It's some good stuff.
Well, certainly the tweeting was fun. The games were fun. I was at JM and Hopewell, and it was just an exciting game up and down the field. And not the results the local teams wanted, but a fun week to watch.
Yeah. Well, let's jump in and review what happened in round 3. .5A North clash of titans. The area #1 team Massaponax hosting Stonebridge, a rematch of round 3 playoff game from last season. A back and forth game. Massaponax jumps out to an early lead, holds it through the third quarter. Stonebridge with a flurry of points in the fourth quarter. Stonebridge comes away with a 50-49 victory over Massaponax, ending the Ponax season. Justin, man, oh man, this was quite a game.
Yeah, Stonebridge scores 22 points in the last 9 minutes to eke out the 50-49 victory. And of course, Massaponax certainly had its chances and possessions that they came up with no points there in that second half.
Yeah.
And onside kicks play a huge part.
Boy.
You know, Stonebridge has done that in the past, and Massaponax sort of prepared for it and so on. But when you get out there and the ball, you know, it's literally the ball that doesn't bounce your way.
No doubt. And give credit to Stonebridge for putting together a plan, an offensive game plan and a defensive game plan in the fourth quarter to stop Massaponax as well. But props to them for going for the victory. They scored that touchdown late in the game, went for 2 for the victory rather than going for 1 to try to push it in overtime.
Yeah, and Joe Thompson with the 2-point conversion run. He's their quarterback. Thompson was 18 carries for 109 yards with 2 rushes on the ground, and then he was 11 of 17 passing for 203 yards, 300 combined yards. In the round 2 game, Potomac Falls found some openings in the secondary against Massaponax. I think Stonebridge, mostly a running team, was able to sort of exploit some of those things as well. And Thompson gets it done with his legs and his arm. Gets it done with his legs and his arm.
A competition between 2 very talented quarterbacks from around the area, and it's hard to, as much as I like Joey Benden, it's hard to pick between the 2. Benden had an awesome game as well, 22 carries. That might be a season high for him.
It is a season high,
22 carries for 203 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. He had 5 completions in 7 attempts, but 3 more passing touchdowns as well. That might be the high water mark.
Yeah, 7 passing attempts might be the most that he's had all year.
7 passing, well, for 3 touchdowns as well. So he combined 6 touchdowns for Benden, but it's 1 point shy. Ponax comes up 50-49 on the short end of that stick. But man, what a season for the Panthers.
Yeah, just another great year, and of course they're undefeated to this point, and they're going to finish with 1 loss, and not the ending they wanted to write certainly, but it's when you get to this stage, it's going to be good teams. Stonebridge is a good team. Tuscarora is a good team. North Stafford's a good team.
For teams that are going to consider it a successful season, that would be teams that make the playoffs. there are only 6 schools across the state that are going to finish with a win.
Yeah.
So, the vast majority of good teams are going to finish with a loss, and then you got to, learn how to deal with that and move on.
Absolutely.
But a good season for Massaponax, absolutely. Tristen Medina from Ponax had 14 carries, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Also a touchdown receiving. So I want to get his name in there as well. Coach Ludden certainly knows how to put together some impressive runs. I feel like this Ponax team is going to be, I don't know who they're going to use to reload, but I'm not going to count them out.
A lot of spots to fill in next year, but they've done this before, and they probably got something in the wings.
No doubt. Congratulations to the Panthers. Massaponax falls to Stonebridge, 50-49. 5A North matchup between Tuscarora and North Stafford turned into almost a basketball game, a back-and-forth matchup. Tuscarora actually was held on downs, turned it over on downs on their first possession, followed that up with 9 consecutive possessions with scores. Tuscarora puts up the 63-49 win over North Stafford, ending the Wolverines season. But North Stafford did not go down without a fight. 49 points in a losing effort, and impressively, I think, they did that without Nakim Morton for most of their game.
Well, yeah, and Jimmy Edwards just had a monster game for the Wolverines.
Yeah.
14 passes for 23, 380 yards, 5 touchdowns. But man, Tuscarora, 596 total yards of offense. They had Daniel Smith, 18 carries for 223. James Douglas, 190 yards. They came real close to having 2 200-yard rushers in one game. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. They just showed a really, really good offense. Balance. They can throw a little bit. They can run a little bit. We saw North Stafford in their win against Brook Point the previous week. They had, of course, trouble. Damone Drew had a big day that night.
Yep.
And
300 yards in that one, I believe.
Yeah, the Wolverines defense just the last 2 weeks has not been what it's needed to be, and I think that's the story of the end of the season for them.
Yeah. You got to be able to stop the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
Putting up a lot of points is good, but you got to have some stops defensively, no doubt. I mean, that goes without saying, but clearly this was a very strong Tuscarora team. I'm sure it was not without effort on the part of the Wolverines. This is just a very talented team.
A 7-0 game after the first quarter in North Stafford, and then the two teams combined.
And then what happened?
They combined for 49 points in the second quarter. Of course, Tuscarora, they go 28-28 into the halftime, and then Tuscarora really takes control, outscores North Stafford 21-7 in the third quarter.
I have seen plenty of high school basketball games that have not had this kind of a score to it. So
I agree.
This is a pretty amazing offensive display. The flip side to be that there's not a whole lot of impressive defense that was played. But let's Daniel Smith, my goodness, he's a quarterback, 4 touchdowns rushing the ball. He also had 2 touchdowns passing. Jimmy Edwards, of course, had a very nice performance as well. Most of those went to Guy Keith, by the way. 8 receptions, 192 yards, and 3 scores for Keith. Just not quite enough, though. 49 points and you can't win. That's
still North Stafford. All the weapons are going to have back next year. Starting with, of course, Devin Ford picked up another college interest today.
Right.
And he's just a freshman. He's going to keep getting better, and North Stafford has been able to sort of keep this going the last couple of years. I think they'll look for a bounce back next year.
Bounce back. I mean, they may.
It's
if
hard
a third round appearance is a down year, then that's saying something positive about.
How about
teams.
this? It's down versus their expectations, what they want to do.
Okay, that's probably fair. Although I think they're probably happy and proud of what they were able to accomplish. But I agree. Next year, I think that they look very likely to be able to build on this performance. It was a very impressive season, but next year really looks quite promising for the Wolverines. Good time to be a North Stafford Wolverine,
Yeah.
Congratulations to North Stafford. Tuscarora, my goodness, what an offensive performance. Tuscarora with the 63-49 victory over North Stafford. Stepping now to the 4A East, Cortland hosted Lafayette in a round 3 matchup. The Cougars get out to a lead. Victor Greene with a big day running the ball on the ground. 14 carries, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing for Greene. Cougars get the 27-6 victory over Lafayette. Impressive victory here for Cortland.
Completely saw it coming.
Did you?
Yeah, completely saw it coming. I feel like the Cortland and against these Bay River teams, they've been able to stop those guys. James Monroe's playing those teams. Cortland's been playing those teams. I liked Cortland from the beginning last week. Saw it coming, and their defense is really impressive to me. They hold Lafayette to 141 yards rushing on 40 carries. That's less than 4 yards a carry. That's exactly what you want to do against the wing T teams, make them sort of grind it out. Don't let them hit any big plays. Don't let the counter go for a bunch of yards, things like that. And I think the Cougars, they controlled it defensively, especially throughout. Lafayette gets the late touchdown.
Yeah, and so impressive performance. So you hold them on defense, Cortland does, but then also do exactly what you're trying to stop your opponent from doing. So they're able to grind it out. Some big carries from Greene, but also some impressive, rather lengthy drives that just sort of, saps the will from your opposition. It's a very J.C. Hall type game plan.
And the Cougars get a pair of interceptions. I think that's also big in the game.
Yeah. So Greene is the player of the year, offensive player of the year. I think he was named for the conference. I've got some offensive acknowledgments at least, and then from what I understand, so he's a Virginia Tech commit. There's now a possibility of him playing some offense or being considered for some offensive time on the Hokies.
Well, that would be interesting to see. I mean, he's such a talented player and so versatile, and clearly is an athlete. And he's the kind of guy where you're going to find something for him to do for your football team and have him on the field for as many plays as possible. Yeah, I think that's what Cortland does.
They've got a number of players that play both ways. I mean, Coach Hall puts the best athletes on the field, and they go both ways. Yep. Now, so Cortland gets the victory. The spoils of that victory means that they get to take a trip down to the Tidewater area and take on a Lake Taylor team, defending state champion, undefeated.
28 straight wins. This is going to be a tough task. This is a Lake Taylor team, with a whole bunch of athletes and talent and experience and the reputation. Dasmine Palmer last week, he had 187 yards, 3 scores on just 10 carries, and they were winning against Hanover. And Hanover didn't get it done offensively really, maybe as much as they would hope to, as the Hawks would have hoped to. And Hanover is a run-first team, sort of like Cortland. Right. What does that mean for the Cougars? I don't know. We'll see. Lake Taylor, though, is an athletic team, and Cortland's going to have to find a way to make the game be played at sort of Cortland's pace, where they can grind out drives and things like that, and keep it a game like that. I don't think they want to get into a position where Cortland has to drive out a 10-play scoring touchdown drive, and then Lake Taylor comes back and scores in 2 plays. Right. You don't want that. You're going to have to play good defense again, and this is a tough task. No one's been able to beat Lake Taylor in more than 2 years in the 4A. Here's Cortland's big chance. Daunting task. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not to say that they don't have a chance. So absolutely not. Absolutely not. As well as I do that anything can happen, and I think Cortland certainly has the capability. They are probably going to have to play a nearly flawless game, no turnovers, taking care of the ball, and very few penalties. I think they're going to have to play very clean in that regard. Yeah, and I think it's even more important maybe that their defense gets it done even more so than their offense. Make this a game that's we're in the 20s, in the low 20s, things like that, where Cortland can afford to keep grinding and so on and keep sticking to the things that they do best. That's the buck sweep, that's the trap, that's the counter. Stick it to those things. Hand it to Greene and Lawson and Cheatham. They got Lawson back this past week, right? And that helps them out. And you still have Hokinson there, and then maybe every once in a while the quarterback hits a big play. You got Jabari Allen running downfield. Nick Grant on the other side too. I mean, they've got 2 very talented receivers. Cortland has the weapons and the talent and so on to stay with Lake Taylor. Now can they go out and do it? I like the game plan that you've set up there. You keep it close, keep it low scoring, the ugly game as we like to talk about sometimes. I think if Cortland is within a score in the 4th quarter, 1 possession game there, they've got to like their chances. Yeah, I don't see Cortland running away with this one, but if they can hang close, of course, what do I know? I just have. That would be a gutsy call there. Cortland in a route. Mark Coleman, everyone. No, I don't see that happening. But I think if Cortland can stay close and hang around there in the 4th quarter. They've been in some close games. I don't think that Lake Taylor has been in too many close games, certainly not this season. Correct, they've really had a very significant points advantage in the games that they've played this season. Keep Lake Taylor close. And no mistakes. No mistakes. I think they can do it. So Cortland with the impressive 27-6 win over Lafayette. They will take on the Lake Taylor Titans in round 4. 3A East matchup between James Monroe and Hopewell.
James Monroe jumps out to a quick lead. Justin, you were at this game. Jackets just were not able to hold on.
Yeah, the JM, Matt Felton returns a punt 67 yards in the first half, and it makes it 24-7. JM looks in control. I turned to the Richmond Times dispatch guy that's sitting next to me. I said, I thought we were going to have a good game. It looked like it was going to be all JM. And Hopewell just sort of stuck with what they were doing, didn't make really mistakes. Their quarterback was, I think Cameron Hill was, I think he was the best player on the field on Saturday. He was elusive. He maybe not real good arm strength, but accurate. They had a bunch of good receivers, and they just sort of whittled around, and James Monroe made some mistakes in the second half. And I think turnovers and things, and maybe some missed tackles and some missed chances. And Hopewell comes all the way back and takes the lead and wins the game.
DJ Weldon with 100 yards rushing, AJ Felton 213 yards passing and 2 scores, also 47 yards rushing. That was on 20 carries though. But yeah, some timely turnovers, some costly mistakes.
Yeah, the turnovers, and
this is a young team though.
It always sounds like here we're going to talk about AJ Felton throwing interceptions. We're not talking about AJ Felton throwing interceptions. We're talking about the James Monroe offense throwing interceptions. And in this case, early or late in the first half, they're driving down. They reach the 15. They hand the ball to Weldon, and he fumbles. They're going in there, and it could have very well been 31-7. Instead, Hopewell actually gets the ball back and scores before the half, and it's 24-14.
Much different complexion of that game.
Yeah, exactly. And then in the second half, Hopewell has come back and tied the game, and James Monroe is driving. And Felton makes 2 throws that I'm sure now he wishes he could have back. I think we're talking about a 15-year-old, a sophomore. Yeah. And some of those things are going to happen. JM could not overcome those mistakes and lots of other things. Of course, interceptions always stand out in your mind, but there's lots and lots of errors, tackles, certainly chances where they got to Hill on the pass rush and couldn't get him down, and then he makes a play. The JM secondary, I thought they had a less than successful day stopping the assortment of receivers that Hopewell threw out there. The Jackets are certainly going to look at this one as one they could have won. And I think just like last year when they lost to Magna Vista in the semifinals, that's a game that they'll probably look at and go, we should have won that game. I think this is a game James Monroe looks at and goes, we maybe should have won that game.
I think the quote that you had in your article from Coach Survey was that they just didn't get it done. I think that was what Coach Survey said. But this is a young team. I mean, they it seems like it's you could just file away this headline and use it several years in a row. James Monroe overachieves, at least in terms of the perception early in the season. And I'll say maybe it's just my perception, but I think that I'm probably in the majority here. JM has a way of maybe it's Coach Survey has a way of getting the most he can out of the talent of the kids and the team. And this is a young team.
Yeah, and this past year it was all about replacing Jay Scroggins, the quarterback, and what they were going to do without Jay. He was 90% of their offense. They didn't have much of a running game. How they're going to pull that off. And man, AJ Felton just had such a great year. The way he got it done with his feet and his legs. They first put him back there, and I'm thinking this is just a JM athlete who can throw a little bit. No, he's got a really good release. He throws a real nice ball. He's a quarterback. Just a sophomore this year. Going to have 2 more cracks here at the state tournament. Their JV team coming off. Their JV kids. One of their assistant coaches pointed out to me Saturday. They got JV kids who haven't lost a game in 2 years. Those kids are going to come up and join the varsity. Got a lot to replace on the offensive line. Got to find another running back. Weldon, of course, is a senior this year, but. I think JM built around Felton got a real good chance to be real successful the next 2 seasons.
Yeah. Another team that the future looks bright, and certainly having Coach Survey at the helm improves your odds, I think, as well. So,
I think so. Yeah.
Congratulations to James Monroe. They do fall to Hopewell, 38-31. So VHSL football playoff round 3, not kind to Fredericksburg area teams. 3 of the 4 teams lose. They get to practice on Thanksgiving, though, but I think one of the impressive, or to me, important things from this past week was the awarding of the annual Lancey Awards. And I'll point out that the Varsity 360 show here now two-time consecutive winners of a Lancey Award.
You guys have earned it. You guys have worked real hard, and we like to recognize the hard workers and sort of the overachievers, the guys who have gone beyond their talent sort of to perform.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I think that you mean that as a compliment. I will hope that you mean that as a compliment. I will act like you mean that as a compliment, and we will not assume anything otherwise. But it's always fun. I know Nathan puts together the Lanceys, but it's always fun to read through. I enjoy reading through the little, fun little behind-the-scenes stories sometimes.
Yeah,
it's good to have fun.
Yeah, the Lanceys is certainly one of my favorite things we do all year. And if you missed them on Thanksgiving Day, still up there on FLSvarsity.com. Go check them out and see if you showed up. Maybe you, like Mark Coleman,
that's right.
got a Lancey this year.
There are several Lanceys that get awarded. And as I said, I'm a two-time winner now, along with Mike, our producer and engineer. So if you see me out and about, happy to sign autographs. Anything for you. Maybe for a lunch or something. I don't know.
Does Cortland carry the torch over? Do we have another Gridiron report to do next week?
I'm not going to go out on that limb. I did try to do that for James Monroe. I predicted that they were going to lose, to try to incite them a little bit, I guess, and that was not quite as successful as I was hoping it was going to be. It's going to be tough for Cortland.
This is a tough straw for Cortland, but I feel like they've got the athletes, they've got the kids with the pedigree. They're going to have a shot. They're going to be there. They're going to have to go out and execute and play well.
I will say I won't be surprised if they win. Okay. I won't necessarily expect them to win, but I won't be surprised if they win. I certainly hope that they do. I mean, it would be nice to have a story like that around the area. I think it's been a very successful season.
We need state championship preview Gridiron report for next week. I think that's what we need.
That would be a lot of fun. It's been a good season. It's been a good couple of seasons for Fredericksburg area high school football. It would be nice to see that would pay off in a state championship. Cortland's our only hope now.
And I'll say my reading of the 4A bracket is Lake Taylor is the highest regarded team in the bracket. This is the big one. If Cortland gets that one, they go to the state championship game, and you think, okay, they got a real good shot to win this game if you find a way to get past this titan of an obstacle that's in the way.
I see what you did there. See what you did there. The very creative headline writer here, Mr. Justin Rice. Well, Justin, you guys are a very hardworking crew. I certainly appreciate the time that you've put in, along with your team, the entire season. Over the course of the several years that we've been doing this. It's always been fun.
We'll give ourselves a Lancey next year.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, all right.
I'll ghost write a little one for you.
There you go.
Certainly appreciate your time as well. Hope you've been enjoying the Varsity 360 Gridiron Report, our weekly look at the top stories in Fredericksburg area high school sports. Next week, check in. We'll see how Cortland did. Until then, I'm Mark Coleman for the good folks from V2SN. Thanks for watching.